Hello everyone, this is Steven from the Even Steven channel, and today we're doing a video I really wasn't expecting to do. When I did my initial video on the P30, I was like, I'm going to let it stock for a while. I'm not going to play around with it too much, just shoot it a bunch and try to get good with that. But people mention this, people mention that, and the alluring call of aftermarket parts just got to me. So on the one hand, we have the Grayguns HK P30 straight trigger. And I noticed on my P30 that the P30 trigger, just the physical shape of the trigger itself, is kind of big and rounded. And it seemed very easy to apply too much pressure to one side of the trigger and kind of throw my shots off. And I think this is what this part is meant to do. So we have the Grayguns P30 straight trigger. And we also have the Grayguns HK P30 and P2000 short reset system, short reset kit. And the idea of these parts is to make the trigger pull a little bit more smooth that just a little bit, and to make the reset a little bit shorter. I actually didn't think that the reset was all that bad, but I thought if I was going to put in one thing, I might as well put in the other thing. So if you pay attention and you use my 4-step plan to installing the Grayguns straight trigger and the Grayguns short reset system, if you follow my 4-step plan, you will be able to install these things into your P30. Now there's a lot of springs in there, kind of hard to fit in the right spot, but listen up very carefully. Here's what you do. You take this. Now, you see these punches here? This is a 1/16 inch punch. This is a 1/8 punch. This is a 3/32 inch punch. And what you're going to do is you're going to put those away. Step 1, put those away. Step 1 is really gather all your stuff, put them in the same box. You're going to put your gun, you're going to put the kit here, you're going to put this kit here, make sure it's unloaded, and you're going to put those all in the same box. Okay, that's step number 1. Step number 1 is put all your gun and parts in the same box. Step 2 is put it in the trunk of your car. Okay, very good. Step 3, okay, so we got now step 1, 2, step 3 is drive to your local gun store that has a competent gunsmith. Alright, and step 4 is to bring it to the gun store because they have the expertise and the tools, and I have neither of those things. If you follow my steps 1, 2, 3, 4, then you will install the Grayguns straight trigger and short reset kit. Thank you, everyone. Be back in a minute. Now, that was a bit of a joke, but my recommendation to you is to not install it yourself. There is a video online, and Grayguns shows you how to do it. However, I think you're going to save yourself a lot of aggravation by simply paying someone to do it for you. So let's open up a little bit and see what was changed on the inside. Oh, this pen doesn't want to come out. Now, I believe that this part right here, going across this way, is this part, or was this part. And it was installed, as you can see right over there. And there are a whole bunch of springs in there, and they're kind of a pain. And even here with just the trigger itself, my understanding is this trigger is very difficult to get back in place. Not impossible, but just difficult to get back in place because it has to go in a certain way, it has to catch on a certain thing. And there's a special tool that some people use to get that in place. I don't have that tool, and I don't have the expertise to do it, so I didn't do it. So I believe that's what was changed. So we have the original trigger, which, like I said, is kind of rounded, and I found it very easy to apply too much pressure on the right side and throw my shots off. Yeah, maybe that was just me. It was a training issue, but I've got the parts. I changed it. This is the pin. I think the replacement pin is like longer, so to better work the gun. So now, is the Grayguns straight trigger and short reset kit worth it? Well, honestly, probably not. I mean, the amount of money you spend to do this, even if you get the parts yourself, it's like $200. So is it worth it? Probably not. Is it better? Yes, it is better. So I like the straight trigger. The idea is that it's applying more even pressure from your finger backwards to the gun. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. Right here when I'm at the wall, the gun is nearly vertical. It's pretty much vertical, but then once you go past it, it is just slightly past vertical. How's that reset? Very short. Not nothing, but it is definitely shorter. Reset. Do all the way out. So definitely all the way out. You can see there's a lot. It goes far, quite a bit, and it looks a little weird, but it's exactly what it's supposed to do. You can pretty quickly go here without accidentally firing the gun. Now, should you have your finger on the trigger if you're not ready to shoot? No, you're not supposed to, but if you need to go. Now, is the trigger any crisper? If it is just a tad bit, just a tad. And I think if you have to choose between the reset kit and the straight trigger, I think you're better off just getting the straight trigger. Like I said, that kind of applies the force backwards more, and I think it more evenly distributes the press of the trigger, the trigger press, than the original trigger. So I had to choose which one do I think is worth it, or if you want to go crazy with it, which one of the two do I think is worth the money? I think the straight trigger is a really nice upgrade. And the short reset kit was just kind of a bonus. That is nice. Not the most crisp thing, but I think this is doing very nicely. I think this is going to be kind of my go-to gun. I don't want to give it my final verdict on the P30 yet. But, so far so good. Is there a fly? How did a fly get on my gun? So far so good. I think what I'm going to do is I might put the large back strap on here because I feel like I'm putting my finger in too deeply. And if I get the large back strap, I might just pull my finger out just a little more. I feel like I have a tendency to put it in too far. Or you just make a conscious effort to not put it in that far. So yeah, I don't think I have much more to add to that. This is Steven from the Even Steven channel. Yeah, I think the Graygun, well, the Grayguns straight trigger and short reset kit costs like $200, like $100. Each one's like $80 or $100, for these little parts. And that's money. It detracts from the value of the P30, which is not a particularly expensive gun. And the more custom parts and this and that you put in the gun, the more you are detracting from the value of it. But I think it does make it a better shooting gun, and I think it's up to you to decide whether or not it's worth it for you. Anyway, this is Steven from the Even Steven channel. Please do all that like, share, and subscribing. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.